Well, babe, just remember that you don't have to talk any kind of special way.
Check one, check
just
two.
because there's a microphone there.
I do it all the time. I have the best podcast voice.
Jeff, how are your levels
That's
looking
easy.
on the computer?
Well, Patrick, the levels.
Since now I can actually like it's so weird to listen to this conversation through the fucking headphones.
Yeah, we don't even
with a microphone in front of my face this way.
You know how a lot
It
of
is so self-conscious.
a lot of people who do this actually wear headphones while they're doing it.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
well, that's the correct way to
That's
do
the
it.
real way to do it.
Yeah,
when
and
you're
I
doing
can't
a real
imagine
podcast, because you guys sometimes especially you guys and Varg and you when y'all get very excited about something, y'all will all start kind of yelling at one another and there's the spikes that you can see on the board, and it's if you had it in the headphones you would do less of that.
Let's say hunker down.
Hunker down.
Hunker down, y'all.
Hunker down.
Hunker down. Hunker down.
Hunker down.
Hunker down.
Hunker down.
It's hi.
Haley. Hey, hello. We're a little rusty. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a month or
At least.
something like that.
Yeah, sorry about that, everybody. I think we just skipped all of August.
Which is what you do.
I've been hiding in the air conditioning like a normal person.
Right.
I don't know about you guys. Well, let's introduce ourselves. I'm Alli.
Hi, I'm Jeff.
And we have a special guest today.
Hello, I'm Engineer Pat. How are you doing?
Yay! Engineer Pat finally makes it on the show!
Yeah, it took a long time to get the mic retrofitted to do the Chewy to English translation, but it seems to be working so far.
It seems to be. I was about to do my best Varg impersonation, but
We'll get, maybe after a few more beers or something. We'll crack that one up.
Right, and a few more LaCroix or whatever.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, that's right. None of us are drinking right now.
First weekend of college football, no one is drinking by the time Monday rolls around.
We did the drinking already.
We did the drinking.
It's Labor Day today, so happy Labor Day to both of you. I mean, it's fake Labor Day. It's not the real Labor Day.
I was about to say, isn't Labor Day in May?
Yes, it's May 1. Our elected representative, Cedric Richmond, had a special greeting for us today. He said, "My district is home to some of the hardest working people I know, and I am proud to represent them in Congress. Let us take a moment to honor all workers, past and present, who contribute to our nation's economy and thriving workforce. Happy Labor Day!"
Oh, thanks, Sedge.
I love to contribute to our nation's thriving workforce.
Yeah,
Don't you?
it's almost as if the Democratic congressman is trying to completely erase the meaning of the holiday in the first place. Well, I mean, this thing where we acknowledge the value of working class power in a political sense, and in its place put, what was it he said? Contribute
to our nation's thriving workforce.
Oh yes, contribute to the workforce, which is the important thing there.
Right. Workforce is such a corporate word. It takes all of because it's not about people, right? It's about an amorphous thing that can be churned into profit somewhere. The workforce.
Right. Or housed efficiently.
Oh, yeah.
He was always trying to build that workforce housing.
Well, with apologies to former President George W. Bush, is our workforce thriving?
Is our workforce thriving? Is it learning?
Is it resilient? Is it thriving? Is it vibrant?
Can you put food on your workforce?
There's a lot of work to do.
Fair enough.
So happy Labor Day.
Yeah, hey, thanks. I didn't even know that Cedric had tweeted that. I noticed earlier that Mitch Landrieu tweeted something very similar. He said, and I have that in front of me, he says, "Happy Labor Day. Your hard work day in and day out are what makes our country truly great."
Oh, Mitch.
So Mitch,
that's so sweet.
Mitch already thinking about the country.
I'm surprised he didn't reference his book.
Right, not in that one. Although, if you investigate further, if you drill down on any of his tweets, you get, In the Shadow of Statues, Mitch Landrieu, an important book for everyone in America to read, says Walter Isaacson.
He's just waiting on the tweet to go viral, right?
Walter
so
Isaacson.
he can go with the follow-up tweet while you're here. Check out my book.
You check out Mitch's SoundCloud book. Mitch is the SoundCloud rapper of racism.
Oh, God. While you're here, check out this thing that my dope friend Walter Isaacson of the New Orleans City Planning Commission said about me. Very cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty great. What else did Mitch do this month? Yeah, he's running for president. No, he's not running for president. Is he running for president, Pat?
Oh, absolutely, he's going to be running for president. There's so many people running for president right now. Why not run for president?
But nobody's running for president right now.
Well, that's true, but that's part of running for president. We're in the phase where everybody has to not be running for president. So then we can get to the point where everyone is running for president.
Right.
That's how you can tell who's going to be running for president, because they're saying now that they're not running for president.
Yes, it's very postmodern.
Mm-hmm.
You have
It's like an existential presidential crisis.
This is not my beautiful president.
Exactly.
You have to ironically not want to be president in order to be president. If you want to be president,
Exactly. It's the first step. I mean, the first step is writing a book. The second step is not running for president.
Okay. And then
The third step is setting up some sort of fundraising vehicle that's not really a fundraising vehicle.
Right. Oh, so that's the other thing you did this week or
Yeah.
this month, I guess. I don't know how to do time anymore.
Yeah.
Because we've been hunkered down for a month. So the other thing Mitch did this month, I guess, was he launched a fund that he's calling the E Pluribus Unum Fund, which
Or is it just the Unum Fund? I think it's just the Unum Fund.
It is that in the URL. You have to go to unumfund.org.
One fund.
No, that's
what it is. That what it means in
one
Latin?
one fund to rule them all.
I want to make an Uma Thurman joke, but I think it'd be really bad.
Let me read to you. If you go to unumfund.org, it says, E pluribus unum, we are better together than we are apart. Out of many one. Throughout our nation's history, we have often allowed ourselves to be divided by anger, hate, and fear. We firmly believe that we are better together than we are apart, and cities and towns will only thrive if they find a way to unite around common purpose with shared responsibility and opportunity. The E Pluribus Unum Fund,
Okay.
it's a fund. The fund is going to do this stuff. Will bring people together across the American South around the issues of race, equity, economic opportunity, and violence. Providing the American
Violence
motto,
really does bring people together.
right? Providing the American motto that out of many one, and we are better for it. And there's a giant picture of Mitch, and then there's a lot of stuff about Mitch, who is the founder of this, obviously, and then there's how you could find more information by following them on social media and also by buying Mitch's book, which is also prominently advertised on the site. So that's.
Well, I like how they started out with the Star Wars quote. Anger leads to hate, hate leads to suffering, suffering leads to the dark side, right? Is that what it was? That where right there in the front?
It's pretty close.
I mean, got to give Yoda some ghostwriting credit there.
I think my first thought is, this is incredible that he thinks that money will fix these
The
things.
fund.
The fund. When I think we can all agree that the greatest unifying force in the American South is the Southeastern Conference, which has more money than Mitch could ever hope to raise.
Oh my God.
Ever.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about like what's going to build a tunnel to the Alabama locker room, not Mitch. It's going to be.
Yeah. I mean, college football fandom is the most multiracial experience you can have in the American South. Like, that, I'm not even kidding.
Yeah?
I think
just
Okay,
means
expound on that.
it just means more. I mean, I think you're more likely to have integrated tailgating than you are to have integrated almost anything else. Maybe.
I'm going to want to put a pin in that one.
Okay.
Because I just keep seeing, purple and gold Confederate flags,
Yep.
and some of the other stuff that goes on around there.
That's definitely what the SEC would like you to think.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm willing to be wrong here, but
you are in line with like Buddy D used to say this about the Saints, in the very sophisticated social scientist Buddy Diliberto used to talk about how
he's a gender theorist.
He is. Never mind. But Buddy used to say that we used to have all of these problems, and then at the time that there was all these problems going on, that's when the Saints come to New Orleans, and then a lot of the black people and the white people could watch it and enjoy it together, and that's why New Orleans didn't experience the problems that the rest of the South did at the time. So there was no segregation crisis in New Orleans because the
and
Saints
that's why
existed.
racism ended in New Orleans until Mitch brought up the monuments, right?
Right.
That's how that happened.
Right.
Okay.
There was no monuments. We had
from the first kickoff run back for a touchdown till Mitch started talking about General Lee.
We need to put John Gilliam up where Robert E. Lee was.
I don't know who that is.
Well, John Gilliam was the first Saint to run back a kickoff for a touchdown.
Oh, so he was the first guy that did that.
He was the first. It was the first thing that happened in the history of Saints football.
Okay.
In 1967.
I thought it was a member of Monty Python, and I got really confused.
Okay. Sorry for being a football fan.
Yeah, this is really a place where you have to apologize for that. Anyway, I know if I was trying to throw out a hot take about the tailgating.
Yes.
But I know it doesn't hold up.
Right. So
That's
it's yeah.
I just think it's hilarious. Like, what is he doing? What is this fund? What is it going to fund?
Well, so the same week that he launched the fund, he also had an op-ed in the USA Today to promote the fund, and he said some very important things about what the fund is going to do, and I'll read you a paragraph of that. He says, we must come together to say in word and deed that we are better together than we are apart, which is again from the website. Communities will only thrive if they unite around a common purpose. And this is where he says, this is what really makes America great. And today, it's more important than ever to hold fast to these values of opportunity and shared responsibility. So again, it's these democratic buzzwords that don't really mean anything. Instead of fighting for social services, we're trying to get you, a fair shake for Medicare for all, help you organize against your boss. No, we're going to give you an opportunity. We're going to
access to health care.
We're going to celebrate your responsibilities. Access.
Co-pays for everyone.
Right. That sort of thing. So, and we respect your values as well. Saying things that you can interpret any way you would like to interpret them, but they don't necessarily promise anything or really express any serious solidarity with you.
Well, he did promise to bring people together, right? So it sounds like there's going to be an event at some point.
Yeah, it's like I think what they're going to do is they're going to have how you just do the welcome table talks in New Orleans. I think he's going to take that model nationally and do
or regionally. Yeah.
Yes, so it's a Southern strategy.
Yeah. I wonder where he's going to host those events in the South. I'm sure the first one will, of course, be in New Orleans because New Orleans is the gumbo.
I bet you he doesn't come anywhere near New Orleans for the next year and a half.
I would agree with that.
He is a gone pecan.
He's gotta go keep the brand out there elsewhere in the South.
He explains it. He says, over the next year, we will convene community leaders, wherever they are, to listen and learn, and we will try to bring people of different races and backgrounds together around our shared values. If we're able to work through the discussion of race,
If they're able to.
Yes. We can then begin moving forward together on creating shared economic opportunity, reforming the criminal justice system and reducing gun violence. Which is a funny thing for Mitch to throw in at the end, because Mitch's record on criminal justice is just one of the most abhorrent things. This is a guy who brought in like Palantir to run the camera system and using, this extra federal power to come in and do that. This is all Mitch's stuff. Like these are the sorts of he's really expanding the drug war and using all of the extra federal powers that the drug war grants local police to spy on people and apply RICO law to teenagers and shit like that. these are his successes, and that's what his record is. And this is like he's folding that into his conversations about race that he's taking into his national campaign, or at least into his fund. So
it's also like, we're going to reduce gun violence by talking about race and then moving forward.
Right.
What? Those aren't, like, that's not how you reduce gun violence.
Right.
I don't know, like, how does he think that's going to... I'm not seeing the causality here in this.
I think that probably goes back to the NOLA for life. The way it was envisioned, at least, is the idea where you're going to get a bunch of people in the community together and talk out sort of what's going on. At least from some perspective, what the Palantir thing was supposed to do initially. The idea of using data to identify who's the most likely next victim of gun violence, which is something that was promised along with the system in Chicago and New York and things like that. But obviously, as soon as it hits the American police industrial complex, gets warped into the sort of secret, we're going to mine your social media and find out, who your associates are and use you for the gang violence RICO sort of thing. Mm-hmm. That always stacks on one another. As far as Landrieu's legacy on criminal justice reform, and he doesn't lead with the consent decree reforms with the NOPD.
No, he doesn't.
That's always something that's very, very strange to me, because the consent decree reforms of the NOPD are something that I've encountered as some of the most productive criminal justice reforms. Just reading about the struggle so many cities are having around the country with that sort of thing. I think that's one of the big feathers in his cap, really, is the fact that we can see what happens in every place where the civic leadership and the police leadership both oppose criminal justice reforms brought in by the Civil Rights Division of the DOJ.
Mm-hmm. At least before Jeff Sessions was running.
All before Jeff Sessions decided he was going to dismantle any sort of reform. There are so many other places around the country where consent decrees with the DOJ didn't work. We even have that here in New Orleans with the OPP, or as the Orleans Parish Justice Center, as they now call it, where your highest elected official, the sheriff, is intransigent to the reforms, and the lead federal monitor can't even get things done.
Which sheriff is that?
That's Marlon Gussman.
Okay, just wanted to call him out by name.
There we go. But the NOPD, on the other hand, you had civilian leadership and political leadership interested in reform, and there are significant substantive reforms made. I can get down into the weeds on certain things that did not work and why, but the fact, it always seems strange to me that Landrieu, when he talks about criminal justice, does not lead with that. The way he leads with the monuments on everything else.
Well, I mean, because the monuments are his brand nationally right now.
How many other Democrats that are not running for president actually get to fight the Confederacy? It's actually staking out a pretty brilliant position in the Trump's America. And here's the Democrat that's against the Confederacy. How many thought that would be an issue 3 years ago, right?
Yeah, but it's such a superficial thing for him to run on, right? I mean, you and I spent the last couple of years agitating for the monuments to come down, so we're totally with him on the act. Yeah. But he's demagoguing it in a way that, it's...
It also erases all the work of the black activists who pushed for it for decades.
Right. So it's not like something... I would say inviting the consent decree to happen is a bigger accomplishment than... agreeing to take down the monument.
Absolutely.
Not that taking down the monument,
especially from a policy perspective.
But I have some questions about the consent decree. Okay, mm-hmm. There's lots of ways in which it, it's not making everything great. No. There's all sorts of problems with the police still.
Yes,
the
including
fact that they're police.
Right. Well, just start with the basic, right?
Okay.
But then go into Mitch also invited the state police to come to the French Quarter.
Mm-hmm. Biggest problem.
And they are not covered by the consent decree.
Right. And so they subvert the entire purpose of it, right? Because they can operate outside of that. Mm-hmm. I think just last week there was some story about there's somebody suing them because there's these internal emails where they talk about how everybody is Antifa or something.
Yeah, they have a list of people who they think are Antifa, and they all. But the funny part is, well, funny is a weird word to use, but the funny part is that all of the emails show them using like explicit white nationalist language.
Okay.
When they're talking about this list, and they're like, "Oh my God, they have a list!" It's like, did you read the rest of these emails? It was terrifying.
No, because it's the same thing that, for example, my conservative family members would email chain themselves back before there was Facebook and memes and things like that. They would get the fake emails about what Obama was doing.
Oh, yeah.
It's the same sort of situation now, but it's coming from, the 8chan Reddit or whatever, going into being forwarded to the Louisiana State Police.
Yeah, it's just like, that's really scary, where there's all this right-wing shit just plugs right into, the police leadership.
Law enforcement everywhere across the country. I mean, we've seen that in North Carolina with in Charlottesville, the police actions there around Confederate monuments and stuff recently, and they had a photo of a I think it was a North Carolina policeman with the "We the People" and then the Roman numeral 3 on his forearm for like the 3%ers, which is another white nationalist thing, I believe. And like, I think he did get fired or suspended or something.
I'm sure there's an investigation.
The Plaquemines Parish Police Department recently fired a guy who was a Proud Boy Facebook group admin.
Right.
Which I was shocked that Plaquemine Parish would actually fire a guy for doing that. But,
You never know who's going to get fired for something. I mean, that's another topic. But the point is that you have this like close relationship between these law enforcement agencies and like this extreme nationalist right-wing movement, and politicians like Mitch who want to be seen as not
tough on crime.
Well, but simultaneously tough on crime, but also like a advocate for racial justice and over moving forward, having the discussion and whatnot. But like that is not what's going to cut it against this tide of like horror, right?
No.
Like you need someone to take a stronger stand than, well, we got to get along. I feel like this wishy-washy approach that is itself like not really in good faith itself.
Well, that's the thing, right? There are so many parts of our institutions and our political culture in this country that are absolutely unprepared for even addressing, not even dealing with, but addressing fascism and white nationalism within those institutions themselves. Like they're just not capable of even grasping with the scope of the problem. Mm-hmm. And they've had trouble with that since, say, Ruby Ridge and Waco and the Oklahoma City bombing back in the 90s. They had trouble grasping what they were dealing with then. During the 2000s, when all the resources flooded to anti-terrorism from the Middle East and things like that, they got to ignore it, or if not ignore it, at least put it on a far back burner. And there's always been this sort of thing in American law enforcement, as I understand it, where dealing with the wolf of white supremacy that we have in this country is always subverted for the external thing that looks scarier on the evening news, right? And that's part of, I think everybody realizes how big of a problem is, but in the same sort of way that we don't want to address the problem, we kind of project onto something else. Our institutions aren't able to really, really accept it and deal with it, and that's why they're fumbling on it so hard. But again, bringing that back, I really think the consent decree. I do want to bring it back. I mean, the consent decree was a huge policy update for the NOPD, and I think it gets buried as much as of a policy victory that it was.
It's going away soon. They're on the verge of having that declared over and done, and then they can go back to whatever they want to do.
That's not correct.
Well, it might be.
If they do, it would be a shame. But the way that they worked it, they were under what's called substantial compliance, and they achieved that in May. what happened with the consent decree, they rewrote a whole lot of their policies with the NOPD of how they interact with the public and things like that, and they had to hit certain benchmarks. As like you always explain to someone why you are stopping them. You always have to demonstrate probable cause. Things that we sort of take for granted in a Law and Order watching on TV syndication. We think the police are always doing this right, and
no,
in
I
actuality,
think that
some of you guys don't, but as a mainstream, right, in America, they think the police are always following these rules. They always
white people
give you they always give you the Miranda warning, things like that. Those were updated, and NOPD had to prove substantial compliance to a certain point. They achieved that, I believe, in May, and now they have 2 years of still maintaining that substantial compliance, where they continually have to report that compliance to the Department of Justice.
So even after the judge gets, so there's still 2 years before this.
So there will still be 2 years.
Right, it's still going away. So whatever, and I don't want to argue with you about whether or not they're actually within compliance and what it means to prove compliance and so forth and so on. But even that has a finish line, right?
It does have a finish line,
and there's no guarantee that everything is fixed, right?
No.
And an important way to look at this is like never assume that this is fixed.
That's correct.
And it is helpful to have your elected office holders continue to advocate for those who are victimized by the thing that is broken.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like we get, again, bring it back to Mitch, we get these people who want to at least straddle the fence on that in that regard, and it's just completely not helpful.
Oh, absolutely. It's not helpful there.
Anyway, Alli, did you have a thing?
Oh, I wanted to say that the roots of white nationalism are also the same as the roots of militaristic law enforcement, which is why they are so often intertwined and have been, and why law enforcement is, in particular, predisposed to overlook white nationalism as a threat to America.
Do you mean these are institutions that go all the way back to fugitive slave law? And
yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's definitely part of it. I wonder if Mitch knows that. He's such a history expert nowadays. Anyway, I think we talked too much about Mitch Landrieu already.
We met. What else is in the news?
That's very appropriate, right? Somebody's 15 minutes still continues, right?
It's amazing. Like we showed up here to talk about Labor Day, and then Mitch Landrieu came up. We're also currently under some sort of hurricane watch or warning or something.
We're hunkering right now.
This is actual live hunkering,
and we advise all of our listeners to hunker down if we end up getting the podcast out before Tropicane Gordon actually shows up.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we get a couple days off out of this. It's sitting off of Florida right now, and they think it's going to be here Wednesday morning.
Yeah.
I just watched the 3:00 press conference. I'm always
from the Tactical Action Squad.
Yeah. So many things, right?
Okay, all right.
The governor activated a crisis action team.
Okay.
Which I don't know.
I feel better already.
I don't know what they do, but already, like a day later, they moved on to something called an urgent, some other thing. There's another shit. I don't have it in front of me.
Damn it!
It was
just make something up.
Yeah, some other. Is a URC, the urgent something
reaction center.
No,
the emergency reaction
center.
All right,
hold up. I have to actually look it up. God damn it!
Urgent Response Committee.
Something like that, yeah.
It's because the acronym GOSHEP, the Governor's Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Preparedness, is a lot to say in a press conference.
Don't usually say just GOSEP.
Yeah. A lot of people do say it that way.
Go step yourself. It's the Unified Command Group.
Yes.
So they moved from the Crisis Action Team to the Unified Command Group, and I don't know what the Crisis Action Team did or does if they're still together, but the Unified Command Group is here now, and they definitely can call press conferences.
Well, they were out buying donuts for the Unified Command.
That's okay. Somebody has to go run down to Rouse's and get the batteries and shit.
Yeah, they had to reset all the passwords so that the Unified Command Group could log into the accounts,
right.
And get all the things out. They had to stock up on the bottled water, but not the big bottles, just the little, the little 8-ounce bottles. They had to get those. And, they had to go park all the trucks up on the neutral ground, and then now it's The Unified Command Group is ready.
Okay, good. I'm glad you cleared that up for me.
It's just pretty standard punch list.
Having seen all that in action from time to time, that's not exactly how that works.
That's the joke.
But yeah,
Thank you.
There we go.
That's the joke. Then this afternoon, the city press conference happened where they got the 17 guys and gals up on the podium. They didn't go to the Bat Cave, so I guess it's not that serious. They went instead into the City Hall press room where they all kind of jam up against the wall.
Does LaToya have the tactical gear?
No, and so I was watching for this. She has a golf shirt that has, I guess, her name embroidered on it, and whatever the logo is. I guess it's the city.
The city logo.
Which is an interesting thing too. We should talk about later, but
the New Orleans Office of Emergency Preparedness.
No SEP.
No SEP.
No SEP and go SEP.
Yep.
But I did notice that she was there also in jeans that were tucked into her big black rain boots.
Nice.
So she's ready. Part of her is ready to go.
Okay.
It's not raining right now, I don't think.
It is raining. It is actually raining right now.
Right.
She's probably got the Land's End jacket, hung right above the altar in her office, and it's ready when she needs it. She can just grab it, put it on, she'll be ready to go.
I'm excited. I want to know, I want to see full tactical LaToya get out and really get deployed. I don't think we've really seen that in action yet.
It's also, by the way, the first day on the job for the new sewage and water board guy.
He was
Welcome to New Orleans.
He was there, and he had to say something, and he acknowledged that. He said, it's my first day or my first week, and
I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Exactly.
And he said that he just sat in on the Sewage and Water Board's version of the Unified Command Group or whatever, and they were exuding confidence. So,
what do you think his onboarding has been like over the past
Oh
month?
my god. Oh my god, I can't even imagine.
Step one, don't look at social media again.
I wonder
ever.
if he's just been reading the news, or if he's getting briefing documents of some kind, or if he's having phone calls with, I really want to know what that process has been like. I'm so curious.
He walks in the first day. Hey, do you know anything how a Cogsdale works? This thing calculates bills backwards. We don't even know what that kind of math is. And then he does a little thing and fixes everybody's computer. I think that's what they brought him in for, right?
I mean,
we can hope so.
I think he's an engineer, so he's probably more wait, you guys call each other to send power to the different pumps from the power plant? You coordinate that by phone?
Not anymore. As we found out at the Mid-City Neighborhood Organization meeting the last couple weeks, they're actually
how do they do this now?
They have a much more
series of
integrated
pneumatic
communications
tubes.
now. They have an entire dashboard. It's actually very impressive that shows when all the pumps have come on, and they can get in touch with everybody immediately to make sure that the pumps are on and working and that they're...
Do they still log everything on paper?
They said that that's not the only thing they do anymore.
Okay.
What they have is this elaborate signaling beacon setup. If pump station number 1 is on fire, then the smoke goes up, and then the guy at pump station number 2 knows that it's happening, and he can set his on fire and then let everybody else know, and it just goes on and on. It's like
Gondol calls for aid.
Exactly right.
Well, the white smoke means that the new sewage and water board head has been chosen too. So it's a multifunctional system.
People don't understand how sophisticated this shit is.
We invented this shit.
We made this. We did it.
This is our expertise.
We nailed it.
I feel great about this Tropicane coming. I think it's going to be fine.
Yeah, well, I'm upset because LaToya said that they have not decided to close school tomorrow, which means that a lot of people have to go to work. And if they do close anything, it'll be Wednesday. And I really was hoping to stretch my Labor Day weekend out another day or two.
Glad your priorities are in order.
But what we're going to have to do is everybody's going to have to get up tomorrow, go to work, and not do any work, but hang around watching the internet all day to see...
Okay, when we could go home.
And then around 2 o'clock, we'd all go home, and everybody hits the rouses and has to, stand in line.
Oh, man. The Costco was closed today for Labor Day, so it's going to be a madhouse tomorrow.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What a disaster. This is disaster. This is shit getting real. But, yeah, hopefully...
People be shopping.
hopefully everybody's okay. If you lose power, I don't know.
It comes back on soon.
Right.
Hope we don't lose so much power that we get a boil water advisory and somebody brushes their teeth with the water.
Don't freak out.
Yeah.
Get some friends. Learn to play Blu-ray. Do some shit. That's my advice.
The pro tips that we do in this house is we've got a big cooler full of water. We fill all the Nalgene bottles up so we can make sure the Nalgene bottles, whatever. I get to get butter bread, the easy bread, not wheat bread, for my sandwiches that I'm gonna make over the next couple days if power goes out. And Allie gets to make fun of me ruthlessly for the amount of bread that I purchase.
He just buys nothing but bread.
This is the only during emergencies like this, or the run up to emergencies, are the only time I ever get Pop-Tarts anymore.
Oh no,
You bought Pop-Tarts?
Hell yes, I bought Pop-Tarts. We've been together 8 years. I buy Pop-Tarts every time there's a tropical storm.
Oh my God.
Minkles also buys Pop-Tarts
Because that's the best thing to have.
I just eat normal food.
What she does is on the first day of the season, she goes and when they were doing the tax holiday,
right? Which we don't have those anymore.
She goes and buys like bags and bags full of Pop-Tarts and potted meat and like whatever kind of gross thing that you're never really gonna eat, except like part of your brain is like, ooh, I get to eat this terrible shit now, and like puts it all in like these grocery bags behind the couch that nobody is supposed to get to until this happens, right?
Yep.
And then this happens, and there's no like.
They never eat any of it,
right?
Yeah.
Ideally.
I see you also bought goldfish and Zaps.
That's
It's just nothing but carbs up in here.
That's right.
Snacks.
I have some tins of anchovies in the cabinet. I guess we could eat those.
That's right. on the bread.
It's civilization hasn't actually collapsed, but let's all pretend that it has and just eat some gross stuff.
Because you'd rather have the potted meat than not have the potted meat, unless like I don't do the potted meat or the pork and beans anymore. Like the Gustav evacuation cured me of that. I never want to have any of that again.
Okay,
ever. If I can't make it from a week of Pop-Tarts. I'll just be sugar shocked out of here. So
I just realized that if you really want to take advantage of global climate change, invest your money in Pop-Tarts now, because that's what people go for in emergency situations.
Hot stock tip from the Hunker Down.
That's right. That's my advice again today. I've gotten
it might really just be me and Chris. Let's not call these anecdotes a trend. Just because you know a bunch of similar people.
It might be enough.
Maybe we'll talk about it on the show, and people will be like, "Gosh, Pop-Tarts would be amazing when the power's out."
Pop-Tarts also can be they float, so
they come in individually or duality wrapped bags.
I think when the pumps break and the levees fall and. We're all just like
we will have
inundated.
Our brown sugar cinnamon frosted.
I'm gonna float by your house on a raft of Pop-Tarts, just waving at you. We made it. Anyway,
as long as you didn't buy the blue raspberry ones.
No,
those are horrible.
Only cherry and brown sugar cinnamon. Legit.
Anyway, so we're ready for this hurricane.
Yeah, well, I am as ready as I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
I think that I spend a lot of psychic energy not giving a shit. And that's what keeps us all safe. If I don't...
Thank you for your service.
If I don't over-prepare.
I'm really glad you're...
Yeah.
A grateful city sends its thanks.
Yeah. It's about time.
Your antipathy is what saves us all.
Exactly.
It's a delicate balance. Yeah. The light side and the dark side.
Speaking of antipathy, let's talk a little bit about these elections, right?
Boy.
Which elections?
Well, so this is
there's some happening.
Are we still having some in Louisiana? I thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a big midterm election year for most of the country.
Yeah.
And for Louisiana, it's kind of a minor one because there's some shit on the ballot.
Our votes don't really matter.
Yeah, nothing matters here. Yeah. But we like to go and vote for shit anyway, so we're doing it. And who knows if there will be another Hunker Nowcast between now and the time that this happens.
How many judges are on the ballot?
So there's a couple of them, right? So there's
There's always judges on the ballot in the city.
There's actually only one that I know about, but there might be more. There's a civil district court spot because Claire Jupiter died.
Oh, that's right.
So you've got Richard Perk and Ken Plaisance and Marie Williams running for that.
Is that a citywide?
It's a district. It's a civil court.
Based?
It's civil court and it's District E.
Okay,
so
it's not going to be.
No, it's not. It's not a huge thing, but it's one of those deals where one of them gets in and they can be a judge for a while. I know Richard Perk he ran for something last year.
Yeah, Marie Williams has run before too.
Marie Williams is one of those career candidate types. So there's that one. There's I don't think there's any other judges, but there's some stuff that's open because some people ran for judge last time. One of them is first city court. That was Ellen Hazer, who won one of the judgeships recently. So she left that position, which if you're first city court...
It's kind of like musical benches.
It is, but this is a clerkship. And it's
clerk of first city court.
Right, which is kind of the small claims court. It deals with like...
So you've got lots of people running for different clerks.
Yeah.
Clerkships.
Okay. And this one is Timothy Ray, who you might remember he ran for District B council last year, and Austin Badon, who I'm sure everybody knows.
Remember his previous candidacies?
He's been around for a long time, and this is an interesting race to me, even though it's just it's a clerkship, right? But it's a job that you can sit in for a long time, and you've got one candidate who is kind of like starting his career and trying to find purchase and move on up. And you've got another one who has been around for a long time, is kind of like on the ladder down a little bit.
Looking for the comeback.
Looking for the comeback or a nice, gentle pillow to land on, which is what the job is really for Austin. Because he's been a state legislator. He's been he wasn't a city councilman, but he ran for a couple of city positions, including mayor. And my favorite moment I have a lot of favorite Austin Badon moments. But probably my favorite one of all was he was running for mayor, and he said that he wants to see NOPD kicking down 4 doors a day.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He
wanted quotas for door kicking. Yeah. That's right. Oh, God.
There was another part where he wanted to declare martial law in the French Quarter.
Yeah. Another oldie but goodie.
More recently, as a state legislator, he was involved in, when they were decriminalizing marijuana, he had the weaker of the two bills that kind of submarined the better one for a little while. This is more subtle politics than I really can explain right now, but he's kind of in the way a lot of the time.
I gotcha.
But
and meanwhile, Timothy Ray it's been made interim clerk, right?
Timothy Ray is the interim clerk now.
And that's the position he's still running for against Badon.
That's right.
Okay.
But yeah, so in this race, a funny thing happened where Badon has accused Timothy Ray of printing out some flyers where Timothy Ray is an expert on tenant rights. But he used the office photocopier to do it. And also there's some stuff on there that Badon says is wrong. And so it's one of those things.
Yeah, he said it was supposed to be an informational flyer, but it ended up being
a campaign flyer.
Masking as a campaign material.
Yeah,
or the other way around. Which, whatever. I mean, they all do that.
It's not even really important, other than to just. I think it highlights that this little stupid race is getting that kind of
That's pretty deep. That's a deep cut, right? Like when you're talking about who photoshopped what from what office. I guess that's just.
Yeah, I mean it's just some catty shit.
Bless you.
But it's important to me. It's important because it just shows how they're butting heads for this one little office. So.
I gotcha.
What else is going on? I didn't want to spend that much.
What
time
does
on
the
that.
office do?
It's the small claims court. So he's the clerk of the small claims court.
Okay. What does it mean? What does that do?
You get to assign cases to judges who handle things like landlord disputes with their tenants and things.
Yeah, security deposits and
stuff like that.
But, like, the clerk also is in charge of, like, basically running the court, right?
Yeah.
So it's a lot of the administrative stuff that can either make life hell for people who have to go to court, or it can make their life a lot easier.
That's right.
Okay.
And you make a lot of friends that way.
So that sounds like actually an important job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a patronage-intensive job there. You make a lot of friends for good and bad reasons, depending on the kind of person you are. And it can be a stepping stone to higher office because you kind of increase your sphere of influence that way. Or it can be a way to like kind of settle down and make favors that you can call in. You know, it's
Or
one
you
of
can
those
be
jobs.
the people's clerk, which I don't think anybody's really wanting to do that.
I don't think so. I don't think so. The other race is in civil district court. There's the other clerk of court. There's another. Jared Brossette is running for that. He's going to win because he's Jared Brossette, and he's going to go sit on his butt and do that job and no longer be the District D council person. That's important to us because
That means we'll have to have another election to replace.
that's right. New election for District D is coming soon.
Yay!
And what neighborhoods is District D?
Gentilly.
Gentilly, 7th Ward. That area.
Gentilly 7th Ward? Okay.
So that's a big deal, especially in my mind. It's a big deal because it affects the timing of the short-term rental thing. Because of all of the council persons right now, Jared was the one who was the most in favor of like doing the homestead exemption requirement. Like this council has said better things than the previous one did, but he was on the previous council, and of all of them, he spoke the most clearly about being suspicious of short-term rentals. So as that comes back around, is he still going to be there when there's a key vote or not? And you know that the short-term rental ordinance has already been pushed back a little bit.
Yep.
So it's an interesting thing to watch how that progresses. There's some other races. There's after this.
Is that a contested election?
It is, but not really. Like there are other candidates, but they're not going to win.
Okay.
So that's
I've just never heard of whoever else he was running against.
Well, he's running against Chelsea Napoleon,
who's currently there.
Yeah, and she was the successor to. She was the longtime deputy clerk to Dale Atkins, who
got a judgeship.
Okay.
Okay.
So when Dale moved on, then Chelsea Napoleon took over, and she's running to keep the job.
But she's not going to.
So my big question about that is like it seems like city council member is a higher profile, higher reward job than this clerkship, right?
Well,
what's the power behind this election?
It's the same way we described the other clerk position.
Okay, so it's like a sphere of influence thing,
and an easy job to do, and it's one where you don't get people yelling at you and asking for you for shit all day. That you. It's
the sort of city council member drawback.
You don't have to represent people, and so they don't have to ask you to do things.
Okay.
Right.
So instead of being an elected representative, you get an administrative job.
It's easier. that's the whole point.
Okay.
What else do we want to talk about here in this? There's a Secretary of State election. That's statewide. That's the only statewide race on the ballot. That is
to replace Tom Shedler and his roving eye or whatever.
Tom Shedler. There's so much grossness in everywhere, but especially in places that
felled by the Me Too movement.
Right. So Me Too victim Tom Shedler has been shedled on off, and there's a host of people who are trying to replace him, including
John Schroeder.
Yeah, John Schroeder, who's the treasurer now.
Yeah.
A.G. Crow, who's
retired state senator from Slidell.
Yeah, reptile from Slidell. Julie Stokes, I think, is running. Is that right?
Yes, right.
And Kyle Ardwin, who is the guy who stepped into Shedler's place, said he was not going to run, and then decided to run on the day of qualifying at 4:20 p.m. According to the Bayou Brief, he spoke with his wife at 4:20 p.m. on qualifying day and decided he was going to run. So read into that what you will.
Wow. Okay.
It just seems like if you're deciding you're going.
Wasn't there what's the controversy that came out of the Secretary of State's office recently about them purchasing voting machines that were bad, that were the not lowest bid.
Yeah, so that's
they
why
were the lowest bid, but they were like abacuses or something. What are we talking about here?
It's what you just said.
Okay,
but this is important though because
I always mess this up in my mind. It's like
And one of them has maybe a relationship with Arwen. So there was some question as to whether or not he should have recused himself from the process in which the bidding took place. And the next Secretary of State is going to decide which company gets the voting machine contract, which is a big deal right now, especially when we're dealing with current environment of rampant voter suppression all over the country. I think that our machines are pretty sweet now. I don't really know what's wrong with them. You like the machines? They're fine. It pushes a button, it makes a little noise. It looks to me like
it makes a little video game noise, like an Atari.
And it looks like
your vote was counted, and then you just trust that whatever happens.
Got a good feeling about that machine. If you want me to like touch a screen or like I'm going to accidentally open some like Angry Birds or something, I don't want to do all that. You know.
I think we shouldn't use machines at all. I think we should do paper ballots.
At this point, I'm all for going back to the Scantrons.
All paper ballots.
I mean, anything that can be audited, I think, is where you want to go.
Well, that's what I keep... Like, I know I've made this point before, but if CVS can give me a 3-foot-long receipt for everything that I purchase at the drugstore, right? Like, every voting machine should print out my voting receipt of all the votes that I cast, and then we can put that in a ballot box, something to audit later if there's any sort of mistake, right? Like, how difficult is it if I get a receipt from everybody's square and everything that ever comes out, like I get a receipt from, except my voting machine, right? Like, how is this technology?
It's also an advantage of the vote-by-mail systems that they have in Washington State, I believe. I mean, because it is a form that you fill out and you send it in the mail, and then they count it. I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Years and years ago, I was one of 3 people that checked the votes in Glenn County, Georgia. The ambiguous votes, like where somebody had made a strange mark, and then you had to get the 3 people, like the Republican Party nominated somebody to do this. I was the rep for the Democratic Party, and then there was somebody from this sort of thing. But we used Scantron, so they were always trying to decipher who had X'd what out and who they were actually trying to vote for. But I think that's what the Scantron sort of situation, I think, is what Washington uses.
I can't remember. I know that in the UK, their ballots are like big boxes. You put a big cross, or you big
like
check
a
in the box that you want. That makes sense.
Yeah, I was always impressed with the way the ones looked in Georgia at the time, because they were all the absentee ballots. I can't remember what we did in person.
Georgia's voting machines are a complete
that was before
mess right
that
now.
was before current homeboy got in charge.
And luckily, the guy in charge of Georgia's elections is running for governor, so there's no incentive for him to do any shenanigans at all.
Oh man,
it's very bad.
Oh, he's been Mr. Shenanigans for a long enough time.
His name's Brian Kemp.
Okay.
Brian Kemp's famous for he had one commercial in that completely healthy masculinity way of saying, if anybody's going to date my daughter, I've got this double-barrel shotgun I'm going to stick in their face.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
And it was like he was actually sticking a gun in a teenager's face. Hopefully it wasn't loaded. Like the guy kind of looked like, terrified a little bit in the commercial, back behind the eyes.
So
and then he had another one. Another one. It's just like what you would like your stereotypical like what Democrats used to make fun of Republicans for doing. Like he rolled it out. He said, "I've got this truck in case I have to pick up any illegal immigrants and drive them to Mexico," And I'm like, oh my God, and there's like explosions, and I'm like, is this real? And he wasn't the craziest of the candidates. That was the 3rd place voter who had the bus that Allie's talking about.
Yeah.
And
The
they
Deportation
had the
Express.
Deportation Express. It was like this converted school bus that he was driving to communities. That was where Cracker Barrel had to tell him to cease and desist. You may not hold your political crazy event in our parking lot. Get out. and luckily
out
it
of the
didn't
Cracker Barrel.
they said cease and desist because they were like, man, we're not going to let you do this here. But luckily the bus broke down, and of course, a bunch of right wing people in Georgia were like, yeah, because the Antifa put put sugar in the gas tank and whatever, and it's just because it was an old bus that he bought off somebody's property and like spray painted. That was the third place guy, but everybody gets that confused with Kemp. Because
Georgia's elections are a lot more interesting than ours.
Yeah,
is what I'm trying to say.
That sounds like fun. That's a barrel of fun. Yeah.
Let's move on.
You want to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. What do we got next?
Sports.
Okay.
Should we take a break?
Yeah.
Brian Kemp commercials were on the other night at the bar where we were watching the Notre Dame game because they had the Braves game on.
Oh my God.
Tying that. Yeah, I was not happy.
Okay, let's take a break.
All right, we're gonna take a break and we'll do the rest of this stuff. Anyway, so the thing I was saying about, Steve Scalise is that, wait, we're not talking about Steve Scalise anymore, are we?
No.
All right.
I don't like that guy.
Instead, let's talk about John McCain's funeral.
I thought we were about to talk about sports.
All right, like John McCain's funeral.
No, all right. Let's just talk about football because it's football season.
It's football season,
and it may even be like that we get this out before like the NFL kicks off. So there's like stuff to talk about now that affects that. But also, like, I guess we could talk about college football season, week one.
The better football
just happened over the weekend, and we are recovering from that a little bit. So
we are. The three of us, in fact, watched the game last night, in which the Hurricanes of Miami were trounced pretty well by the Bayou Bengals of Louisiana State University.
A surprise to everybody.
Yeah.
Except me.
Oh, really? You had that? You had that nailed?
I did have that nailed. As a matter of fact, I told you as soon as we got to the bar what the final score would be.
Well, I remember you calling the final score like somewhere in the...
Oh, that's right. It was a little bit later. But yeah. I've seen this...
you have some experience with Mark Rick.
I have some experience with Mark Rick. And I could recognize the upset pretty early on. Because it always follows the sort of same script, right? Like, your quarterback is off... Your defensive line is not really getting through their offensive line like it should. Your offensive line is letting them through, and despite a couple of early long bombs that expose a secondary that is a little bit suspect or a couple steps behind, you immediately switch from the two long passes that worked really well, that moved you down the field, to three runs right into the teeth of your opponent's defense to set up a field goal. I've seen that script too many times.
Miami came out throwing and did kind of hit some stuff long, and then they immediately put that back in their pocket, and we didn't see it again.
Until the fourth quarter.
Which, again, so LSU had piled up this big, huge 30-point lead.
Yep. And
there's a lot of time left, and
too much time.
Having seen enough of these, none of our first rodeo. We all start speculating. Well, all right, how much of this is going to start to feel nervous before it ends? And Pat called the final score. Like he just, it's going to be 33-17 before it ends. And yep, sure enough, what you said.
Yep.
They went right back to chucking the ball up.
I've read this script a few times in my life.
Well, there was also another Georgia person on Twitter who said something like, the list of 24-point Mark Richt comebacks. And then it was blank.
Yeah, it does not compute.
Yeah. So, but Michigan, the Michigan Wolverines also scored 17 points, but that wasn't enough for them because Notre Dame scored 24, which meant that we won.
That game kind of followed the same pattern a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
It was for different reasons, but like Michigan kind of started to sneak back into it towards the end of the game.
Yeah, they scored on a punt run back, and then they had a field goal. Mm-hmm. So they had no offensive points or no offensive touchdowns until then. They had a rushing touchdown with like 4 minutes left in the game, and then Notre Dame got the ball back and then decided to go 3 and out and give them the ball back again with just a couple minutes left in the game, which was infuriating because so Notre Dame did what they always do in close games, which is play not to lose. And me and the other Notre Dame fans were absolutely tearing our hair out watching this unfold. But luckily, our defense managed to get an interception right then and basically end the game. So that was nice.
One of the things I've learned about Notre Dame fans, having not really known as many before, right, is that they are among the more pessimistic fans in these weird ways. Like they always expect some weird turn of luck to go against them in a game. So that's pretty straightforward pattern, right?
It's the bad luck of the Irish.
Yeah, oddly enough.
I think it's just that I've never seen them have the killing instinct, of I think really successful college football teams. I've never seen them want to just absolutely run up the score. I've never seen them try and embarrass an opponent, things that blow the doors off of somebody. I've never seen them have that drive. Mm. And I think that's why you end up with these close games. That changes college sports is different than the NFL in that a lot of it is emotional or momentum based, I think, in more so than the NFL is. Yeah. Because it's teens.
Right, it's younger kids.
It's younger men. And there is a huge psychological switch that happens when when you are just going for it and you don't care and you're you're trying to just put a whooping on somebody, you play differently than if it's a close game and you're I just want to get out of here. And I think that is the most frustrating thing about Notre Dame is that they never, a lot of times in the fourth quarter, they're let's just get out of here. And it's not fun to watch.
It's weird because you have this large range of emotions that are available to you as a college football fan or participant. Mm-hmm. You could the reason that I really worry about there being plenty time left in a college football game more than I do in an NFL game is that shit goes crazy. People get really confident and then completely fall apart, and then other people can gain a little bit of confidence and it just means everything.
This is also because as an LSU fan and an LSU alum like you are, your team has always played Auburn. And my team has always played Auburn. And so we know that if you leave any time on the clock at the end of the game, crazy stuff can happen because we're used to that happening with our history with Auburn.
It happens for you and against you.
Exactly.
Auburn
usually during the Auburn game.
Right. Right. Auburn may blow a 20-point lead against you, or Auburn might fuck you in some strange way at the end of the game.
Might tip a ball up and catch it and run it to the end zone.
They might magically disallow your game-winning touchdown.
Exactly.
Who knows?
So many things.
So I don't know that it's that I'm cynical or I think that something's always going to go wrong. It's just that I think that there's never that finishing instinct.
Okay.
I guess it's part of the plenty of time left mentality. I feel if you're going to play football, you always have to keep trying to score continuously. I don't care if there's 2 minutes left in the game. Go for another touchdown. Just keep attacking. Yeah. And I don't understand when coaches get conservative, especially in college football. I keep thinking about that LSU Mississippi State game a couple years back, where everybody left. Yeah. And then somehow... Except us.
Right.
No, I was there. Were you there?
No, I wasn't at
Okay, I was there with somebody else.
But
I was there with Paul Kane.
That's right.
Yeah. We were the only people left in the stadium while we made like a 17-point comeback against Dak Prescott and came within, I think, 3 points and ended up losing.
Yeah, but there was plenty of time left.
There was plenty of time left.
People didn't recognize how much plenty of time there was.
There was plenty of time to sit in that traffic outside the stadium.
Right, which is murder.
It's so bad.
I hate...
That's why nobody goes to the game.
But Baton Rouge is a traffic nightmare.
That's
like,
what I'm
when
saying.
You're doing anything, like you're going any direction for any reason.
I've never seen any place like that.
Nothing is worse than leaving Tiger Stadium at the end of a game. There's nothing worse.
Well, it's not just for football. Like, leaving gymnastics meets. It's crazy. I mean, like, it's any sports event.
Not just because it's a gym school.
It is a gym school, though.
Like, we went to the Ole Miss game, I think, last year or the year before, and we left that stadium at, like 11 o'clock at night, got to New Orleans at 4 a.m.
Oh, my God.
Because we were just sitting we just went exactly the wrong way
Yeah,
and got
that's
stuck
horrible.
behind the worst bit of shit on Nicholson and just sat there forever and ever and ever and ever. Which is, like, it makes you not want to go. It makes you not want to go to the game.
I've never been in traffic that bad, but it has taken... I think the worst is, like, taking me, like, 2 hours or 2.5 hours to get home.
Oh, my God.
But it should only be an hour and a half.
No, you should be able to zoom right there.
Yeah. So anyway, football's back.
Yeah. Sorry. Traffic.
I have a thing.
Traffic is part of the game day experience.
All of our teams won this weekend.
Uh-huh.
It's very exciting. But Pat and I were talking earlier about the difference between opponents that you want to beat every year. You want to beat the shit out of them every year. And then there are also opponents that you absolutely do not want to lose to.
And how these can be different teams.
Okay.
I think that
Example.
so. Like, my example is I want to beat the shit out of Southern Cal every year, no matter what. I want to hang 70 points on them. But Michigan is a team that I don't care if we win by 1. I don't care if we win by 50. I just don't want to lose to those people.
Okay.
There's a difference, right?
Well, one is like you just hate, and the other one is more like, oh God, I got to deal with this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like after we won, I wasn't even. I don't think you could even call it happy. I was just overwhelmingly relieved that we hadn't lost to Michigan.
For example, for Georgia, right? Georgia, like LSU, we have 6, 7 rivals, depending on where in the state you're from or where, you moved after you went to school, sort of things like
you
that.
don't have like a...
So they ran, like I remember this poll years ago to prove this point, because there's a big argument on the internet or whatever. And I said, okay, Georgia fans, what team do you most want to win? Or team do you most want the Dogs to win against in any football year? And, of course, you've got 4 or 5 main teams, right? Florida just a little bit number 1, Auburn a close second, Georgia Tech a little bit of a distant third right over Tennessee, and then Carolina down at number 5, and then Clemson, because we don't really play them a whole lot anymore. The numbers are all right there. But then when you ask Georgia fans, what team do you most hate losing to? And Georgia Tech stands like a colossus over all other teams.
Yeah.
Because, my gosh, if you just, if we don't beat Florida, it's a crappy year. If we don't beat Auburn, it's a crappy year. But don't lose to Georgia Tech. Because, it's just, we cannot, that's just something you do not want to deal with. And I mean, it was not close.
Yeah.
Auburn was number 2, but Georgia Tech was the Mount Everest of we do not want to lose to this team.
So interesting. Florida dropped from 1 to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised at that. And if you
because we had lost to Florida for 20 years at that point, so we can't really,
Yeah. If you had just come to me and asked, what Georgia fans consider their big rival, I would have said Florida without thinking. Mm-hmm. But then I would have thought about it and thought about Georgia Tech. Mm-hmm. But Georgia is one of those LSU Tulane situations where, they're supposed to have been rivals, but then they don't play in the same conference anymore, and then one of them went off the rails forever.
Yeah, but Georgia Tech has got a lot more wins over Georgia than Tulane has over LSU. All right, so we've had to deal with.
I'm just talking about the relationship.
We've had to. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that, but it isn't. isn't exactly like that because Georgia Tech's in another Power 5 conference, right?
Right.
Tulane, when they decided to, both those schools apparently decided that they were going to be, quote, the Notre Dame of the South and go independent and leave the SEC.
There's no
sacrificing future TV money that they could have never possibly imagined.
Right.
I mean, I can only envision Tulane as a member of the SEC right now pulling down $30 million from the ESPN contract. That's where we would be. But yeah, both schools left. But Georgia Tech eventually found its home in the ACC before, there's a small contingent of the Georgia Tech fan base, or at least when I was, watching the message boards, years ago, that still wanted to leave the ACC, complaining about the Tobacco Road Mafia,
oh my God,
North Carolina schools that run the ACC. And it's just you gotta be kidding me. Where are you going to go? They thought they were going to go to the Big Ten for a while when that expansion was going on. And the Georgia Tech was yeah, we can make it to the Big Ten. And it was guys.
It didn't happen.
Well, it would have been better than Rutgers.
I mean, I guess, yeah, but...
would have been a more quality program.
I mean, I would have accepted it more, yeah. I would have been okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, they're all AAU schools and major R1s and stuff.
So
Rutgers is, I don't know. But.
So do Georgia and Georgia Tech play every year?
Every year.
Okay.
Every year.
I feel like there was a period where they stopped for a while.
Thanksgiving. Every year.
Every year is the Thanksgiving game.
Okay, good.
The main one of the Georgia top tier rivalries that stopped was Clemson, because Clemson's actually the closest school to Athens. Clemson, South Carolina, and Athens are closest. They're only separated by about 60 miles, I believe. So those were always some of the most fun games to attend when we did pull some home and homes going on.
That was before the 9-game SEC schedule.
There is no 9-game SEC
or whatever.
schedule. If there was a 9-game SEC schedule,
everybody would be dead.
It would
at the end of the season. People. I mean,
we would need to really reconfigure the way the conference is, but it wouldn't take 10 years for Georgia to get back to Baton Rouge, right? Right now, it's just absurd. 14 teams, our East-West division.
My point about this was from the LSU Tulane thing was that this year LSU had 800 quarterbacks and. 700 of them got mad and had to leave.
Yeah.
And one of them was Justin McMillan,
who went to Tulane.
Yeah. And I thought if we could go back to 1980 and tell a bunch of people that an LSU quarterback transferred to Tulane and nobody really gave a shit.
They wouldn't believe it.
Right, they wouldn't believe it. It would be but that's the worst thing you could possibly do. But no, it's not like that anymore. But I'm thinking about this because you guys asked, what team would you most hate losing to?
Yep.
And if they played each other again, it would still be Tulane. Because you would never live it down from every asshole on Twitter in New Orleans who has no connection to Tulane, but is a New Orleans person for whatever reason. And you would hear...
Oh, it's part of their nolier than thou bit?
Yeah, you would hear that. And also, there's this pervasive stereotype of every LSU person as being some kind of hick racist or something. And so we would hear a lot of that.
Would Vargas walk into this podcast wearing nothing but the Tulane jersey
that would happen.
And a big foam wave on his head?
Yeah, that would definitely happen.
No, he's a Florida man.
That's true.
He wouldn't give a shit.
True.
He would do it to be an asshole. Yeah. And as would a lot of people.
Who is it on the regular schedule?
So on the regular schedule, it's who would you hate losing to the most? It's hard to think about this. Maybe Auburn. Auburn, Texas A&M.
I would have said Ole Miss.
Yeah, maybe. Though there's certain games that to me are like Alabama and Ole Miss. It's all pageantry in my mind. It's okay, well, this is the high drama of college football, and it's got all the elements that you want to see happen in a college football game, and you either win or you lose, and it's exciting either way.
So that sounds like they'd be in the games you most want to win category.
You most want to win against Alabama. Definitely always want to beat Alabama. Everybody does. But then, you want to win the Ole Miss game. You want to win the Arkansas game. But the ones that you really hate yourself after you lose to are Auburn, A&M, and I could see Ole Miss a little bit. I don't feel that bad about Ole Miss, but yeah.
I have several Texas A&M alum family members and good friends, And when they moved to the SEC, they were like, all right, so we're reigniting the rivalry with LSU and Arkansas. They were stoked about that. They wanted to create a rivalry with Alabama. They were ready for it. They didn't have any idea what they were getting into with Missouri or South Carolina or any of this other stuff. But they were like, what should we think about? They were asking me, right? What do we need to know about moving to the SEC? And I told them, I was like, Auburn. You just don't understand. People who do not play Auburn every year, people whose teams do not play Auburn every year, cannot understand like what it is like to have to deal with Auburn on your schedule every year.
It is the most painful loss because for weird reasons, though. It's a different reason every year, but like that's when you know the season's going to go south or not. Is if you lose to Auburn.
Mm-hmm. We got to play them in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Pizzle. Let's go early. What we do? I like driving in my truck. He likes to drive in his truck. Auburn sucks. Auburn sucks. I like driving in my truck. He likes to drive in his truck. Auburn sucks. Auburn sucks. I like trucks. He likes trucks. I don't care for Auburn. He doesn't care for Auburn.
Yeah, they got to play Auburn in 2 weeks. I don't know. Is Coach O on the hot seat now?
No.
Is he going to be on the hot seat again if they lose to Auburn?
Yeah.
This is LSU, so it can change every 15 minutes.
It can change every couple minutes. Let me read you something real quick.
I love that.
This is from...
my favorite part.
This is an article that appeared on AL.com, although I don't know the original source because it's advanced and it could be from anywhere. Mm-hmm. But this is it's a Coach O profile. And this is a story about...
Go Tigers!
This is from, I think, last year's Arkansas game. And they're talking to players who were in the locker room before the game because they had an 11 a.m. kickoff. Mm-hmm. So those kickoffs are rare at LSU.
Saturday morning in Death Valley.
Yeah, there was
right, it should never happen.
So there was one 11 a.m. tucked in on November 11th against Arkansas. It says a handful of former Tigers recalled the locker room scene that preceded that brunch in Baton Rouge. Ed Orgeron got primal before that morning game. And he says he walked in there and said, "It's time to set your jaw," said former offensive lineman KJ Malone, and started punching himself in the jaw. Orgeron's LSU's 56-year-old head coach sacrificed for the motivation. He says, "Punch yourself in the face in the morning if you're not ready." Some coaches speak in hashtags. Orgeron lives them. So
okay, is this more or less crazy than Jim Harbaugh's "don't eat chicken because it's a nervous bird"?
I didn't know about that one.
Yeah. He said he never eats chicken and no one should ever eat chicken because it's a nervous bird. The dude is literally insane.
Here's the other part. He says it was a real serious punch, said Toby Weathersby. He said he'll look at us and he'll start growling. He'll give us a growl. You know what time it means. It's time to go win a ball game. Ed Orgeron is punching himself in the face and growling at you.
I thought when he was at Tennessee, he had a famous pregame or some big meeting with the players where they all ended up taking off their shirts and like waving them around in the meeting room or something like this. This is years ago.
Yeah. There's some.
I remember in SEC East news.
He did some weird shit like that, like beating his chest like a gorilla before a game or two. There was some story about him waking up the assistant coaches by beating a drum in the office for some reason.
Let's not forget the most important Ed Orgeron fact. He's a double slaw man at Raising Cane's. Well, after my own heart.
That's legit.
Do people eat the slaw at Raising Cane's?
Yeah.
I didn't realize this.
At me and Coach O. We are upholding slaw thought.
She will steal all my slaw that comes when I ask them not to give me some.
I will jump into any Twitter fight about the slaw at Raising Cane's because people, I guess the universal thing is that no one should ever get the slaw and you should always sub for extra toast or whatever, and I think that's bullshit. I like the slaw. I said it. Me and Coach O.
What do you think of Red Bull?
Oh, it's disgusting.
This is Will Clapp again. Before Ole Miss, it was his first time going back to their stadium that year when he was an ex-Ole Miss coach. He says, "We got down to the hotel before the buses left." And his pregame speech was he came in and he started yelling and screaming, and then he chugged the Red Bull, and then we got on the bus and he slammed it against his forehead.
Hell yeah.
And so That's
Hey.
Anyway, this
I've never coached any. I mean, I guess I helped direct a sort of chaos at the middle school I taught at one time about, a slightly organized chaos football in the yard to try and, show some semblance of the rules. But I couldn't even imagine what some of these coaches have to do to maintain the hype at all times, because, like you were saying earlier, college football is an emotional game. When you manage it, it's like that was Mark Richt, right? He had ice water in his veins. Sometimes that was an advantage, but if you've got to get your players into the game to like make a 27-point comeback, it's really hard to be doing that if you're so calm and cool and collected, right?
Yeah.
Then you look at LSU, or you look at Notre Dame, slogging through the fourth quarter, try not to lose the game.
Which doesn't make sense.
Then you look at the way LSU.
Brian Kelly gets really mad.
Well, yeah, he gets real. Well, I think most of that's directed at the officials.
Yeah.
But then you look at LSU and how emotional they played. Like when they got like just a little bit, like when their quarterback started completing passes against the 9 defenders stacked in the box with 1 safety back, and they finally had a quarterback that could exploit that, right? And like how excited those players got, especially in that first half, and that built that lead up,
I think Miami just made the mistake of getting in a fight with LSU pregame. And
Yeah.
it was all over when that happened.
Yeah, those guys punched themselves in the face.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really want to fuck with that. A head football coach, in my mind, isn't really... You hire an offensive coordinator to do that job, and you hire a defensive guy to do that job, and then you're the mascot. Like, you are just the guy who, like eats the grass and beats on shit and like makes a lot of noise and impresses the kids because I want to go play for that fun guy, and that's your job. You don't have to be like that smart of a guy to be a college football coach.
Hey, it takes a lot of extra smarts to be the highest paid public employee in whatever state you happen to live in.
That's right. I mean, you just have to kind of know, like, I guess the football thing you have to know is like when to call timeout, except you really don't need to know when to call timeout. You just have to be there and just be entertaining. They do the actual football.
They do that.
You just do the ridiculous shit.
There was a lot of sports being played.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited because the Saints now are going into their second season of having a Notre Dame player on the roster, and I think that means good things.
They've got a Notre Dame guy and they've got an LSU guy now.
Yeah.
So the Notre Dame guy is actually going to play. Hopefully the LSU guy is not going to play. They play Tampa Bay this week.
Okay.
And everybody...
And it's a real game?
It's a real game.
Okay.
Provided the city is still here after the devastation
after
that is...
Flash Gordon gets here?
That's right. If we're not all floating away on Pop-Tarts, then we will be in the Superdome. The expectations for the Saints are really high this year.
Yeah, because it's probably Drew's last year.
One or two of his last years. They brought in Teddy Two Gloves. They're going to hand the keys to the car over to him, maybe. That's interesting.
I mean, he was one of my favorite college players to watch, so that's exciting.
I mean, everybody has really nice things to say about him. What I noticed so far is that he is very much we're going to give it all we have and take it one day at a time and blah, 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 blah kind of a guy, which is what has worked for Drew Brees for many years. So I guess, in certain cases you would like your quarterback to be that guy.
It's NFLese.
It is. It's boring as fuck, but,
That's why we watch college football, too.
I guess that's
for the exciting
for
shit.
the Red Bull cans being
Right.
crushed on people's faces.
I don't really know what to expect. I think that the last time expectations were this high was 2014, and they totally tanked. I am worried that it's going to kind of go that same direction. There's some things everybody talk about how deep this roster is. Some of their draft choices didn't make the team this year, but I'm nervous because I don't think they're especially deep in the secondary. I don't think they're especially deep on the offensive line.
That's the critical point. The offensive line is always the most critical point.
They're very talented and they're top 5, but Teron Armstead never plays a full season.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, when he would go down or when Pete would go down, they had Senio Clemente who could come in and play any of 3 positions, and he was pretty good at being the utility infielder. Now, if Teron Armstead goes down, I think the first one in there is 800-year-old Jermon Bushrod.
Oh my God!
So
he's still around?
They brought him back.
Holy shit!
So they've got him, and I'm not really sold on it. If one or two things goes wrong on that offensive line, how well that's going to hold up, especially when you have a 40-year-old quarterback and your best running back is going to miss the first 4 games. So yeah, that's me being a big downer. I don't mean to be, but I'm thinking of reasons why it might not be as
Well, there weren't any expectations last year, right?
No, there weren't any expectations last year.
No expectations, so everything was gravy.
The good news for the Saints defense is that I saw a picture of Manti Te'o at the Notre Dame game this weekend, and he looked super hot. So I think that is a good sign.
Okay.
Yeah. He was good last year. You were so skeptical of Manti Te'o. You were like, oh, no, nobody plays well after they blow their Achilles.
That's right.
They never come back.
It's very unusual, but they have that. They also added DeMario Davis. I mean, they have some quality on the defense. They don't have as much depth in the secondary as I think they believe they have. I'm worried about that.
Well, who do you see? What do you see the big stumbling blocks in the schedule?
I don't know. Professional football is like week to week, and every team is as good as every other team, and it's just like it depends on
which puzzle pieces are in the right places, right?
Yeah, or who's hurt week to week. Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about that. I was thinking about this is Gail Benson's first year as the owner. Her offseason was interesting in that they put Tom in the ground. And then she had to pay $400,000 for being racist.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, so the Bensons have this driver, an assistant who was an employee of theirs for a while, and it turns out that Gail is the one who got him fired.
Oh, okay.
And he filed a complaint against her because she was using racist language in the way she addressed him and stuff. And she settled for $400,000. Okay. So obviously, Gail had to pay $400,000 for being a racist.
And she is a billionaire, so kind of goes with the territory.
Yeah, they already praise her all the time, but she's kind of gotten her wealth by being this manipulative and vicious person who got on the Tom Benson bandwagon at the end of his journey, and now she's the beneficiary of that.
Sure is interesting, huh?
What was the other?
Do you think that's going to affect the team?
It affects it affects the enjoyment of the experience.
Oh, it affects I got
It's a part of what's happening out there. It's part of what you're experiencing.
I just never see football in those terms.
We'll see.
Yeah. Yesterday, was it yesterday? No, it was Saturday. Our friends, the Wisemans and the Mosleys and some other of their friends,
folks,
they put together a march every year. They started doing during the Rob Ryan heyday.
Yes.
It became the Rob Ryan pub crawl.
Right.
And then after Rob left, it became there was another theme that I don't remember right now. But then they moved into last year's theme was the modern age, and so they all dressed up as mimes and shit, and for avant-garde art and stuff.
Okay, sure.
And then this year's theme was postmodern. So Chris and I went up to catch up with them as we do every year. We try to find them at Igor's. But something happened this year. As they were doing their postmodern celebration, they detoured off into the karaoke bar across the street while we were at Igor's waiting for them for a long time. And I think that this works out well because we played the part of Vladimir and Estragon as we were staging the Waiting for the March play, and they were off, somewhere else. They never came before we left.
You turned to Chris and said, "I can't go on like this."
That's what happened, and so I like to think we contributed to that a little bit. There's also a video I noticed today of Mark giving the speech, a little talk about the meaning of postmodern as applied to football, and I was going to capture the sound and put it in here, but I also noticed that Mark was desperately trying to get it erased from the internet.
Oh,
and I think that there's something to respect in that because there's it's an instance. It's not a. It's a thing that the mind needs to absorb and then remember, but not perfectly, and then just kind of try to extract whatever meaning you can from it. So here's what I heard. He spoke about the postmodern aesthetic as being the use of the double negative to place oneself at a remove from what's happening, to kind of give the impression that you know what's happening, even though you really don't know about what's happening. It's in my mind, it's about having or affecting confidence in an unknowable outcome. So this very football in my mind.
Absolutely.
We have to really embrace the surety of the unsure, and then knowing the thing that you don't know, but pulling it off in an ironic way. And I think that's something to look towards this year. And it also applies to even the mantra, who dat say they gonna beat them Saints?
Yeah. Because
that is at a double remove itself, because we're not really asking who's gonna win this game. We're not even asking if the person who may have said that they are going to beat the Saints, do we know who they are?
This is why it's the greatest chant.
Do we even know... Are we even challenging their assertion by just asking their identity? We don't know. And we know that we don't know, but we also don't want to say that we don't know that we know. And that's where we are with football this year. That was what I got from the things that Mark was saying. Although it was kind of hard to tell because it was in a loud room with people yelling, and my experience was through a vertical video of it, which I think was part of the act, but I'm not sure, that we may never see again. And so I'm looking forward to Saints and Bucks this weekend. It's going to be a good time.
Wow. Not much to say after that. I think you really put a bow on it.
Really, very good.
Nailed it.
All right.
Do we have anything else to touch on before we get out of here?
I don't think so. I think we've talked enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we...
I don't even think we have a jive wire, do we?
No, I don't think so. But, Lance, who could not be with us today because I think he's recovering from Southern Decadence.
Yeah. Sounds as good of an excuse as we've heard lately.
Yeah, sure. He may or may not have contributed a report to this episode that I will know by the time we edit this. And
you will know before we will actually at this point in the broadcast, because it will be edited in prior to us talking about it now.
Very post.
So it's very much
Yeah.
There we go.
Exactly.
And now that's the bow.
Oh, no. All right. So, I guess that's it. So
it's been fun.
It's been real.
Hunker down, everybody.
All
Good
right.
luck surviving Gordon. Out of the way.
Trust the Gordon's hurricane.
What?
Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next time.